If your Toyota dealer told you certain fluids are filled for life, they handed you a ticking time bomb disguised as convenience. Right now, millions of Toyota owners are driving around believing their transmission fluid, differential oil, brake fluid, and coolant never need to be changed. That belief is quietly destroying gearboxes, corroding brake lines, and eating away at gaskets from the inside. Toyota engineers designed these fluids to be serviced. The word lifetime was never meant to describe the fluid. It was meant to describe the interval between you buying the car and the warranty expiring. After that, the damage becomes your problem. In this video, I am going to walk you through every so-called lifetime fluid in your Toyota, explain exactly what happens when you ignore it, and give you the real intervals that protect your engine, transmission, and drivetrain. Number 5 on this list causes the most expensive failures, yet almost no one talks about it. Let us get into it. Number 1. Automatic transmission fluid is not lifetime. This is the biggest lie in modern automotive maintenance. Toyota World Standard Automatic Transmission Fluid, known as ATFWS, is one of the best transmission fluids ever made. It holds viscosity under extreme heat, protects clutch packs, and maintains smooth shift quality across a wide temperature range. But none of that means it lasts forever. Every time your transmission shifts, friction material from the clutch pack sheds microscopic particles into the fluid. Heat cycles break down the base oil and additive package. Moisture enters through seals and vent tubes over time. After 60,000 to 80,000 miles, that fluid is carrying metal debris, oxidized compounds, and degraded friction modifiers that Toyota never intended to stay in the system permanently. Toyota's own internal service guidelines in many global markets actually recommend transmission fluid replacement between 60,000 and 100,000 miles, depending on driving conditions. In the United States, the maintenance schedule often lists ATFWS as not requiring replacement under normal conditions. But here is what most owners miss. Toyota defines normal conditions as steady highway driving in moderate climates with no towing, no heavy traffic, and no extreme temperatures. If you drive in stop and go traffic, live in a hot or cold climate, tow anything, or regularly drive in hilly terrain, you fall under severe conditions. And under severe conditions, that fluid needs attention far sooner than most people realize. What actually happens inside a neglected transmission is progressive. The fluid darkens as it oxidizes. Shift quality gradually softens. The torque converter clutch begins to slip at a rate so slow you do not notice it for months. Valve body passages collect varnish that restricts hydraulic pressure. By the time a transmission starts slipping noticeably or throwing codes, the damage is already done. A fluid change at 60,000 miles costs around $150 to $250. A transmission rebuild on a Toyota 8-speed or 10-speed automatic starts at $3,500 and can exceed $6,000 with labor. The fluid was never the problem. The neglect was. Number 2. Brake fluid absorbs moisture and becomes dangerous. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. That means it actively pulls moisture out of the air through microscopic pores in rubber brake hoses, seals, and reservoir caps. Toyota uses DOT3 or DOT4 brake fluid depending on the model, and both types begin absorbing water the moment they are exposed to the atmosphere. Within 2 years, brake fluid can absorb enough moisture to lower its boiling point by 50 degrees Fahrenheit or more. That drop matters because braking generates enormous heat. Under hard braking or sustained downhill use, fluid temperatures can easily reach 400 degrees or higher. Fresh DOT3 fluid boils at around 401 degrees. After 2 years of moisture absorption, that same fluid may boil at 300 degrees or less. When brake fluid boils, it creates gas bubbles inside the brake lines. Gas compresses, liquid does not. The result is a soft or spongy brake pedal that suddenly loses stopping power exactly when you need it most. Beyond boiling point concerns, moisture-contaminated brake fluid corrodes brake lines, caliper pistons, and the anti-lock braking system module from the inside. Toyota ABS units contain narrow internal valves that are extremely sensitive to corrosion. Replacing a corroded ABS module can cost $1,000 to $2,000 on popular models like the Camry, RAV4, and Highlander. A brake fluid flush every 2 to 3 years costs around $80 to $120 and eliminates the risk entirely. No Toyota was designed to run the same brake fluid for a decade. The system relies on clean, dry fluid to function safely. Number 3. Engine coolant breaks down and attacks gaskets. Toyota. Long-life coolant is an excellent product. It contains silicate-free organic acid technology that protects aluminum components without leaving the heavy deposits older coolant formulas created. But even the best coolant chemistry degrades over time. The corrosion inhibitors that protect your water pump, radiator, thermostat housing, and head gasket slowly deplete as they do their job. If you made it this far, then consider liking this video, giving it a thumbs up, and subscribing to my channel. This helps me bring you more honest car advice. Toyota generally recommends the first coolant replacement at 100,000 miles or 10 years, then every 50,000 miles or 5 years after that. Those intervals exist for a reason. Coolant that stays in the system beyond its effective life becomes acidic. That acidity attacks aluminum surfaces inside the engine block and cylinder head. It degrades the water pump seal, causing slow leaks that are nearly invisible until the pump fails completely. It eats at the rubber in heater hoses and bypass hoses, creating soft spots that rupture without warning. On Toyota engines like the two GR-V6 found in the Camry, Highlander, Avalon, and Sienna, coolant neglect is one of the leading causes of water pump failure and thermostat housing cracks. These are not cheap repairs. A water pump replacement on a 2GR-V6 engine runs $500 to $900 because of its location and the labor required. A coolant drain and refill at the correct interval costs $100 to $150 and keeps the entire cooling system protected. Toyota did not fill your engine with lifetime coolant. They filled it with coolant that has a defined and tested service life. Number 4. Differential fluid degrades under load. If you drive a Toyota with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, your vehicle has at least one differential that contains gear oil. On popular models like the RAV4, Highlander, 4Runner, Tacoma, and Tundra, the rear differential, and in some cases a center transfer case, use heavy gear oil rated at 75W or 75W to 85W, depending on the application. This fluid lubricates hypoid gears that operate under extreme pressure and high contact stress. Over time, that gear oil shears down, loses its extreme pressure additives, and collects fine metal particles from normal gear mesh wear. Toyota recommends differential fluid replacement at intervals as short as 15,000 miles under severe towing conditions, and typically every 30,000 to 60,000 miles under normal use. Yet many owners never change it because it is not part of the basic oil change reminder system and most quick lube shops do not include it in their standard service. Neglected differential fluid causes accelerated gear wear, increased operating temperature, and eventual bearing failure. A rear differential rebuild on a Tacoma or 4Runner can cost $1,500 to $3,000. A fluid change takes less than 30 minutes and costs $50 to $100 in most cases. The fluid inside your differential is doing some of the hardest work in the entire drivetrain. Treating it as lifetime is one of the fastest ways to shorten the life of your Toyota's most expensive mechanical components. Number 5. Power steering fluid breaks down and destroys pumps. This is the one almost nobody talks about, and it causes some of the most frustrating failures on older Toyota models that still use hydraulic power steering. Vehicles like the 4Runner, Tacoma, Tundra, Land Cruiser, and many Camry and Corolla models produced before the shift to electric power steering all use a hydraulic pump and fluid reservoir system. Toyota specifies automatic transmission fluid, Dexron 3, or an equivalent fluid for most of these systems. That fluid circulates under high pressure through the pump, the steering rack, the cooler lines, and the return hoses. Every steering input generates heat and pressure cycles that gradually break down the fluid. Over years of use, the fluid oxidizes, turns dark, and begins carrying fine particles from internal pump wear and from rack seal degradation. Those particles act as an abrasive compound circulating through precision components that are designed to operate with clean fluid. A failing power steering pump often starts with a whine during cold starts or during low-speed turns. As the damage progresses, steering effort increases, fluid leaks appear at the rack seals, and eventually the pump can seize entirely. Replacing a power steering pump and rack on a Toyota truck platform costs $800 to $1,800 depending on the model. A power steering fluid flush every 50,000 to 60,000 miles costs around $80 to $120, and it removes the contamination before it causes damage. Toyota never classified this fluid as permanent. The maintenance schedule simply does not emphasize it enough, and owners pay the price. Number 6. Transfer case fluid is critical, and it is constantly ignored. Toyota four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles that have a transfer case rely on a separate reservoir of gear oil or automatic transmission fluid, depending on the system. The transfer case distributes power between the front and rear axles, and it operates under significant mechanical stress, especially during towing, off-road use, or driving in snow and mud. Toyota specifies transfer case fluid replacement at intervals from 15,000 miles under severe conditions to 60,000 miles under normal driving. Despite that, the transfer case is one of the most neglected components on trucks and sport utility vehicles because it is out of sight and rarely mentioned during routine service visits. When transfer case fluid degrades, the chain or gear set inside runs with reduced lubrication and increased friction. That friction generates heat, which further accelerates fluid breakdown in a destructive cycle. Transfer case failures on the Tacoma, 4Runner, and Tundra are well documented in Toyota service bulletins and owner forums. Rebuilding or replacing a transfer case can cost $1,500 to $4,000. A fluid drain and refill takes less than 20 minutes and costs under $80. If your Toyota has a transfer case, put it on a schedule and keep it there. Number 7. The real meaning behind lifetime fluid labels. Here is the truth that no dealer will explain clearly. When a manufacturer labels a fluid as lifetime or filled for life, that statement is tied to the projected life of the component under warranty, not the life of the vehicle. Automakers calculate warranty exposure based on statistical failure rates. If a transmission is warranted for 60,000 miles and the fluid is expected to last 80,000 miles before causing issues, there is no financial incentive to recommend a change during the warranty period. After the warranty expires, the cost of failure shifts entirely to the owner. Toyota builds some of the most reliable vehicles on the road. Their engines and transmissions are capable of lasting 300,000 miles and beyond. But that longevity depends on fluid maintenance that goes far beyond what the basic maintenance schedule advertises. Every fluid in your Toyota has a service life. Every fluid degrades with time, heat, and use. And every fluid is cheaper to replace than the component it protects. The word lifetime was never a promise. It was a marketing calculation. The owners who understand that are the ones still driving their Toyotas long after everyone else has moved on. So here is the schedule. Change your automatic transmission fluid, WS, every 60,000 to 80,000 miles. Flush brake fluid every 2 to 3 years. Replace coolant at 100,000 miles, then every 50,000 miles after that. Change differential fluid every 30,000 to 60,000 miles depending on use. Flush power steering fluid every 50,000 to 60,000 miles. Service your transfer case fluid at the same interval as your differential. These are not upsells. They are the difference between a Toyota that lasts 150,000 miles and one that crosses 400,000 miles. If you are enjoying this video, consider watching the one where I share the exact maintenance habits that make Toyotas last over 300,000 miles.